Nice. You are fucking strong, man.
Yeah, I've been working out a lot.
I can tell.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gee Dunk. You got Billy here, but as you can see, Josh was a little too scared for the Dahmer stuff, so we got Ashley, right? But hey, you know what? She's probably going to do a better job than Josh did anyway.
You know what they say about us women in these crime documentaries.
That's right. They love them.
Yep.
Yeah, speaking of which, so, we checked this show out, all 10 episodes of it. It was definitely binge-worthy, and to me, I thought it was pretty finger-licking good.
I don't know about that.
But stick around, because we're about to find out. All right, Ashley, we got Dahmer, right?
Yeah.
So I watched the full series, and I watched the Dahmer files. Ashley didn't get to watch the Dahmer files, or
Not
Dahmer
yet.
tapes, I guess. But
I will.
we did do a lot of research on this, right? Just to check out, what's fact, what's fiction, and what's a little bit of both.
I did watch the testimony from Tracy Edwards, the surviving victim. I did watch that.
Yeah, he's got the eye always watching him, too, right there.
There you go.
That's right. That's Dahmer's eye spinning the powder.
I don't know about that.
But, so Tracy Edwards, that dude, well, Dahmer just got sloppy, right? I mean, you watch the show, he started out with all of his killings. Well, the first one were like 8 years apart, right? He killed freaking...
it was like 9.
Yeah, 8 or 9 years apart. He killed, what was his name? Stephen Hicks, right?
the
Killed him first.
hitchhiker.
And then, fast forward 9 years later is when he did his second killing, in a hotel, right?
Well,
So-
it should be noted that his first killing was accidental.
Well, hitting somebody over the head with gym equipment. I don't know how accidental it is.
I mean, it's not like it. When I'm saying, I don't want to say it's accidental, but he did not plan it.
No, he didn't plan it.
He picked
Right,
up the hitchhiker. He had intentions on doing whatever with the hitchhiker, but
He
he did not have intentions on killing him.
No, because he didn't want the dude to leave, right? So he knocked him over the head, and then he choked him out, and that was it, But and that was that was the interesting part, I guess, about watching a lot of this is just Dahmer's psyche. That was it, right? He just didn't want that feeling of abandonment. He wanted someone to stay.
Yeah.
So watching through the actual Dahmer tapes, his lawyers are asking him, they're like, hey, so if you found somebody that was like completely submissive, like all the time, would that have satisfied you? He's like, yeah, maybe it would have, So that's what he really wanted. He really wanted just that submissive person to do whatever he wanted them to do, to not talk, right? To let him just be the man in charge, right, the whole time, So I guess, but when they were dead, they were pretty submissive, right? So.
I mean, he had complete control, which was his thing at that point.
Yeah, for about a week until their bodies started to rot, and then he would get rid of them and move on to the next
He
one.
didn't really get rid of them, though. That's the thing. That was the problem.
Yeah, we kept him around for about a week or so until they started to get, and in the tapes it went into how, he kept he kept one of their heads, and he was like, yeah, I kept it for a while, and I would use it for gratification, but then finally it got to where it really wasn't looking like him anymore. So it's like, ugh.
And that's why he took pictures too.
Yeah.
Because he wanted was his reason for everything he did was not because like most serial killers, they enjoy the killing, they enjoyed that part of it. He actually didn't like that part of it.
No, he liked the intimacy of it.
He wanted complete control, and he wanted them to never leave. So it was all about even the killing. He said he had a hard time with the killing, actually. So he would drug them and then strangle them. So most of them anyway, that's how it played out.
Exactly. Except a couple that he drilled holes in their head and put acid in their brain.
He was trying to keep them alive.
Yeah, trying to turn them into
trying
zombies.
to turn them into zombies. He wanted them to stay. He wanted them to be his little zombie.
Yeah, and it kind of worked. The first person who did it too pretty much died immediately. They said, and then when you're watching more, they say with the Conrad kid, he did it to him, and he actually stayed alive. So he's like, oh, cool, I got this, zombie kid alive. I can use him however I want. So
but first, let me go to the store and get some beer.
Exactly. Let me grab some beer first, right?
I mean, that just shows you he didn't really take steps to prevent himself from getting caught.
No, he didn't.
And part of me thinks, I mean, I don't know if he really ever said it. You watched the Dahmer tapes, but I kind of think he wished he would get caught.
Yeah, well, he did. Well, just like in court, he said, look, I wish I kind of hope I get the death penalty. I just want you guys to kill me.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't like feeling that way.
No.
But he couldn't fight it.
But I knew what I was doing. Didn't want to, but couldn't help myself.
Yeah, I mean, he knew something was wrong with him, and he just, and he tried fighting it for years. Right? I mean, he went years at a time trying to fight it, You know, to finally he just gave in completely and just, I mean, his last like 6 victims were within a week to weeks of each other.
Yeah.
You know, vice others, which were like, you know, years to months apart. You know, towards the end, he just got super sloppy, just started, you know, mowing dudes down, basically.
He said it just after, so the first one that was accidental, that, you know, he didn't do anything for a couple of years after that. After he started killing again, he realized how easy it was. And so he's like, well, no one's really catching on to any of this, so I guess I'll just keep doing it.
I'm not insane. It just got really easy is the problem. That's why it kept happening.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I mean, going back to Stephen Hicks, right? He chopped the kid's body up, threw it in some garbage bags, was driving it to the dump, and got pulled over by cops. You know, and you get to see this in the movies, and of course, you do the research, and they talk about it in Dahmer tapes too. That really happened. Like, Dahmer got pulled over by the cops with a dead body in freaking garbage bags in his bag, and he talked his way out of it.
So we have notes, because I know, like, when I watch like a movie, not an actual documentary, like the Dahmer tapes, is when you're actually watching Dahmer talk himself. Like, so you have,
speaking of which,
his side of it.
That dude that played Dahmer, holy crap, man! When I watched
Evan Peters,
yeah. I mean, not only did they do a good job making him look like Dahmer, he sounds just like Dahmer.
Evan Peters is amazing.
Dude, watching the Dahmer tapes and listening to Dahmer's voice and then just listening to Evan Peters, I was like, dude, that dude sounds just like Dahmer. And kudos to the guy that played his dad, too, because he did a good job sounding like the dad, too. Because when I watched the tapes, I was like, damn, even his dad sounded like him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they did. Both those guys did awesome jobs.
So I went through and I made some notes as far as, like, when I watch it, like, okay, did they do some embellishing here? Is that really true? Or what's the actual, like, fact? So I always want to look stuff up like that. When it comes to Stephen Hicks, like when the cops pulled him over and he has the body in the back seat.
It's in the garbage bags.
They're the clippings from the yard.
I had to look that up because I was like, no way did that actually happen. And that is actual fact.
Oh, yeah.
That actually happened.
Yeah.
And that's just hard to believe that he was pulled over for, like, swerving for drunk driving, and they just let him go.
Well, then let's get into...
I mean, it wouldn't happen, I don't think, in this day and age.
Right, now.
But in the 80s, first of all, 70s and 80s, I don't know how anyone survived. You were
mad.
either murdered or you were the murderer.
I mean, that was the years of Bundy, of Dahmer, of the Son of Sam, of freaking,
crazy.
I mean, who else? John Wayne Gacy. I mean, how many damn serial killers were there in the 70s and 80s? Man, a lot. I was like,
I know.
And then, you know, of course, now you can watch them all on Netflix, right? You can watch all the tapes on Netflix. It's like, hell yeah. But that was nuts, man. That was a crazy time.
I don't know how you survived.
Yeah, but, you know, well, let's get into also kind of, well, another thing, right? With freaking Conner, man. That kid with, like, no kid and got away, right? Zombified, right? Freaking Janet Cleveland's daughter and niece found him.
Yep.
You know, butt naked. I mean, butt naked. You know, the kid didn't have no clothes on. Came downstairs butt naked. They call the cops. Cops come out.
What? What's going on? Do you know this kid? Yes, sir. This is my boyfriend.
Boyfriend?
He came out of his apartment. He was talking crazy. He's butt naked, and he doesn't know what's going on.
But so of course Dahmer's out getting some alcohol. He comes around the corner and literally talks these cops into saying, "No, he's not a kid. He's my boyfriend. He's drunk. He's an alcoholic. Can you help me get him back upstairs?" And of course the girls are like, "What the hell?" They're freaking out. And the cops are like telling the girls, "Hey, step back. This isn't your concern." Like,
and they kept saying that he looked like he was an adult. And I've seen the pictures of this kid, and he looks like a kid.
So they were saying he was 6 foot tall, or maybe a little taller. They're saying he was tall, but he did. In the picture, he still looks like a kid. No doubt about it. And and on top of that, this poor kid, Dahmer, had already been arrested for freaking sexually assating this kid's older brother.
Yeah, but
a couple years prior.
Kid didn't have ID. They didn't know that.
Cops didn't bother checking ID. Nothing. Yeah, it was nuts, man.
Now, here's my thought process on that. He had been injected with the hydrochloric acid at that point. Is it hydrochloric acid?
No, it's some other acid, but
it's not
kind of weird. It wasn't hydrochloric; it was a different type of acid, but whatever.
So, I don't think he would have survived. I think that probably was going to kill him. However, it would have ended right there. His family would have had peace. He would have but instead, that's not how it played out.
Well, and
then, of course, obviously, more after that. There were 3 other victims after.
4 more after him.
4 after Conner. So.
But with Conner too, because Dahmer, the first guy Dahmer did the acid to pretty much died immediately, right? It killed him off, but Conner it didn't, right? So.
I believe the first guy,
Anthony. What was that guy's last name? Anthony.
Tony, who is the guy in the movie
where they
that
had a relationship.
Yeah, which he didn't have a relationship.
Yeah,
He met him that night, took him back, and he died almost
so
immediately.
So he didn't meet him that night. In the Dahmer tapes, they've got a guy who's, I guess, was friends of a lot of the victims. He hung out in the gay crowd. He was always in the gay bars. And they said Tony and Dahmer did know each other. He's like, hey, I'd seen them together before. I know they knew each other.
Right.
He's like, I knew Tony really well. And he's like, I knew Jeff. He was like, and Tony and Jeff had known each other before. So this wasn't their first time meeting. They'd known each other before and hung out before. So, but I don't think it wasn't like a dating relationship like it made it show on the show, right?
Yeah, because I was really rooting for him in that show. Not like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm like, oh, you're so close to him. This is the deaf. But the deaf guy.
And the funny thing is, so you're right. He tried it on him first, didn't work. So Dahmer left his dead body on the bed, and when he brought Conrack up,
his body was still on the bed,
right? So, so whenever the cops helped, so then he did the acid with Conrack, and it kind of worked, right? It didn't kill the kid.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right. And then, of course, that's where he makes a mistake of leaving and then comes back and the kid makes it downstairs. But I guess it wasn't a mistake anyway because the cops helped him carry the guy back upstairs, right? And then on top of that, not only did they not check for ID, but they just looked in his living room and said, okay, just take care of him and left. Had they just walked into the bedroom, they'd have seen freaking Tony dead there, right?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, they did mention the bad smell, and of course, he gave him the same BS story he gives everybody else.
Everyone just believes this
bad meat, whatever.
Smell story.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is that smell?
My fridge broke, so I had a bunch of meat that went bad. But I got a guy coming tomorrow.
Good.
Yeah, well, let's get into the Janet Cleveland stuff, right?
But hold on a second. So he really would he had Anthony's body in the bed.
Naked on the bed, dead.
And then he had just injected Conrack with this acid. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to go for some beer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, this just tells you, like, he really had no strategy into, like...
No. Well, what's the other thing they mentioned, too? Pretty much every killing, not only was he drugging them up, but he was getting drunk himself. He was drunk pretty much every time he killed somebody. He was alcoholic, and that's kind of what helped him get through the killing process as well. Because, like I said, he didn't like it.
Right.
But the alcohol helped him get through it, right?
Right.
Made it a lot easier for him. But with Conrack, of course, so once the cops help him back up, Dahmer tries giving him more acid, and to subdue him more, and then that's what kills him. So he gives him acid a second time, he kills the kid, and, unfortunately, that was...
He said I think he killed him within minutes after the cops
they said within an hour he was dead.
Yeah.
An hour of the cops leaving.
So...
But, and then, of course, let's get into some of the neighbors, right? You got Janet Cleveland, right, who in the show is like a bitch. She was the next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
She was constantly smelling the crap and hearing screams and all this stuff. And in reality, that wasn't the case at all.
Very nosy neighbor.
Yeah, very nosy neighbor. Matter of fact, she didn't even live in the same building. She lived across the street. The big thing she contributed was once her daughter and niece found Conrack, then she kept calling the cops, right? Constantly calling the cops, trying to ask them to check on Dahmer, check on the kid. Just pretty much just harassing the cops for the next 7 weeks till Dahmer was finally caught. So that was her big contribution. She never lived next door to Dahmer, never really knew the guy, any of that. Now, however, Bass, right, the next door neighbor,
Pamela
Bass, right, her husband, Vernal Bass, lived right across the hall, and him and Dahmer evidently were buddies. He talks a lot in the Dahmer tapes. He's like, yeah, Jeff was cool. He was like, a lot of people thought I was weird. This white guy living in our building. He's like, I thought that was all right. And he's like, didn't bother me. I thought Jeff was a cool guy. He kept himself a lot. He and I would hang out, have some beers every now and then, and talk. He said, and, he's like, one time I tried hooking up with a girl, but he's like, we were playing poker in the house. He's like, Jeff, I got all these women, man. Why don't you come play some poker? But he's like, Jeff didn't want to come. He's like, and eventually Jeff just stopped answering his door. So,
wow.
Maybe
you got lucky there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know. Like, you would think that he'd probably be smart enough not to go after his neighbor, but he really didn't look at it that way.
Well, and in the show,
he looked at opportunities.
Yeah, when in the show they did have him go after one of his neighbors, right? Because the neighbor disappears, and then freaking Cleveland's like, "Hey, Dahmer, last time I saw so and so he was with you. Where'd he go?" And he's like, "I don't know. Maybe he left." Yeah. But in reality, he never killed any of the people in his building.
No.
So. But and then I'm trying to think what else there was. It was kind of definitely off about it. Well, the whole meat sandwich thing.
It's a sandwich.
Thank you. I'll eat it later.
Oh, eat it now. I used to be a butcher. I made that just for you. Go ahead.
I don't know what's in that.
Evidently that happened.
Yeah.
Right? But not with Janet Cleveland. She didn't ever eat any meat sandwich, right? But some of the neighbors did, evidently.
Yeah.
So that long pork, man.
That little TikTok trend or song that goes around. It's like, you can't eat at everybody's house.
You can't eat at everybody's house. Oh, you can't eat at everybody's house. Y'all see that shit? She need to quit, 'cause you can't eat at everybody's house. Absolutely not.
You can't eat at everybody's house.
No,
like you
or
probably,
drink at everybody's house either.
You should probably know what you're getting into. So that was another thing. So watching this, like, I know there's this big craze, and I don't know what it is and why it is. I'm one of them, but like women loving these like true crime documentaries or movies about these actual true crimes that happen. But I'm one of them. I love watching them. I'm not bothered by gory scenes. I'm not bothered by most of that. Most of the things that ever bother me at work in healthcare are like smells. So obviously I don't smell anything watching TV. But when he was drinking the blood.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy, yeah.
I gagged watching him, but he never did that.
No, he did in real life. That's in the Dahmer tapes. They said he actually did try drinking blood.
He did, but he didn't like it.
But and they said, of course, he did it because he wanted to feel closer to the people he killed and try to take them inside of him as part of himself through some of the satanic crap. You know, they kind of mentioned.
He didn't steal like the bags of blood from the.
Yeah, I never said that. I never said he stole blood.
From when he worked at the. Yeah. But he did. He was somewhat strategic in that, where he got jobs at like delis and like places where he could kind of deal with.
Yeah.
Carcasses in some way, or you know.
Yeah, he worked at a pastry shop for a while, I think, if I remember correctly.
But he was at the chocolate factory.
The chocolate factory, that was it. Yeah,
chocolate factory when everything went down, I think. So, but yeah, that was the hardest thing for me to watch. Actually, that and how Dahmer actually died.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing I also cannot watch is head trauma.
Oh yeah, you got
can't do it.
Well, I tell you what's crazy too. So during the court process, Dahmer's leading attorneys, you know, one was male, one was female, but she was the one that did all the interviews with him, right? So she actually kind of, you know, of course she was, you know, it had to suck for her because she's sitting here trying to get him to talk to her and get everything out, and of course she's freaked out like crazy, like holy crap, man, this is nuts. But then she even says, look, you know, she's like, after a while, you do grow, empathetic, sympathetic to what they're going through, and you kind of understand, yeah, this dude's just freaking nuts, you know.
That's tough because like. He at least according to the movie, and I don't know because you watched the Dahmer tapes, he did, you know, try to like, I guess he got baptized.
He did. He got baptized. They talk about that.
I want to say he got baptized, at least in the show, he got baptized on the same day they executed.
And that really happened. Gacy. And it was a eclipse. It was an eclipse that day.
So I don't know that was for show or if he was really just trying to redeem himself. Not that I think I would empathize or sympathize with him, but...
So in the Dahmer tapes,
I don't see how people. I'm fascinated with people who can do these kinds of things, and like I don't think that I empathize with them or have sympathy for them.
Well, the one thing too, so they were talking to the priest that actually baptized Dahmer, and he's like, no, he's like, he really was. He's like, I feel that he was being honest. He was trying to turn his life around. You know, he said he started going to church every week in prison. He's like, I started meeting with him every week. So he's like, I met with Jeff on a constant basis. On a weekly basis, and we talked, you know, religion and everything. He's like, so I think he really was trying to do what he could to atone for all the wrong he had done, you know. But, you know, the other thing too,
that's a lot of atonement.
Oh yeah, a ton of atonement, man.
That's a lot of atonement.
Yeah. Welcome to the family of God. Congratulations, Jeff. You're saved.
Thanks. Thank you.
Definitely interesting, and like I said, especially if you're gonna watch it, watch the Dahmer tapes after. Watch the show first. Then in the Dahmer tape, and the show's 10 episodes. Dahmer tapes is only 4. Right, they're all about an hour long. But definitely watch them both just to kind of get a good feel of what really happened and what didn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, because when you tie it all together, it's just a crazy story.
But I will say the acting by Evan Peters is top notch.
Freaking phenomenal. That dude played like.
I mean, I've loved Evan Peters ever since like American Horror Story. He's been in a bunch of different things, but he's really good in American Horror Story.
Quicksilver.
All right, I like him in American Horror Story, but I mean, he's good in other things too. So.
But I mean, that dude, he plays Dahmer.
He was also in the WandaVision.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
as Quicksilver.
Is that Quicksilver? Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, dude nailed Dahmer. I was just after watching the tapes and just hearing Dahmer talk, hearing Peters talk, seeing him, side by side in the pictures, like man, wow.
And Evan Peters did say that he had a hard time playing him.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
he said he was afraid to go to these dark places.
Yeah. Well, he had to do a lot of research.
Yeah, because he's one of those like method actors, so he really tries to like
get into
become the character. So that was really hard for him.
He
did a good job.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely recommend checking it out. And please talk to us and let us know what you thought, because maybe some great conversations we have from shows like this, right? Just as far as especially like getting into psychology.
And we can't talk to Josh about it,
right? Because Josh is scared.
It's not scary. I don't know. It's just they say it's weird that like there's this craze about it, and there's this controversy of like why do people love watching this stuff so much? And he's just on the other end of it. He doesn't like watching this stuff. It doesn't interest him in any way.
I guess it's more of a learning experience than anything, right? Just like learning about psychology, just how some people's brains work, just
fascinating to me.
Definitely fascinating.
I am not empathetic, nor do I sympathize, but I am fascinated.
Yeah. But had she been younger, then she would have been one of the groupies writing Dahmer letters.
I would not have done that. No, and that actually happened too, because every serial killer gets a fan base.
Of course they do. And some of them even get like marriage proposals and stuff, right? So crazy, man. I think Bundy did. I think Bundy had chicks like want to marry him and stuff, but nuts.
He was a charmer.
Nuts. Yeah, he was a charmer, all right. Charming them right out of their clothes and right out of their lives.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this, because we definitely enjoy watching the show and talking about it with y'all. And again, please let us know what you thought. Hit like and subscribe when you check you guys in our next review.
See ya.